The news starts now.
The block on most military promotions is over. I'm Matt Napolitano, Fox News. 425 military nominees confirmed via voice vote on the Senate floor today after Alabama Republican Senator
93 WIBC Mobile News.
Four stars that would be impacted by those continued holds.
Pentagon Press Secretary Pat Ryder. The debate surrounding a supplemental aid package for Ukraine looms large on Capitol Hill.
We must get aid to Ukraine, and so we cannot wait.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, a holdup emerging in the House as Speaker Mike Johnson looks to include a GOP-drafted border bill as part of that over $100 billion national security supplemental package.
My advice to the Majority Leader last week was, if you don't believe how serious we are about this, then file cloture.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. A special election to replace ex-New York Congressman George Santos is set for February 13th. Santos last week became just the sixth member of the House to be expelled from their seat. Police in Virginia say a man who fired shots from a flare gun at officers was in his Arlington home at the time of a subsequent explosion. The suspect, James Yu, was killed.
There's no ongoing threat to the community related to this incident and no outstanding suspects.
Arlington County Police Chief Andy Penn. Coming up tonight on the Fox News Channel, a Hannity Town Hall event from Davenport, Iowa, where former President Donald Trump will address voters. The Republican presidential frontrunner answering questions one day before the fourth GOP presidential debate, which he will not be attending at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa. America's listening to Fox News.
Some days, my active psoriatic arthritis makes it hard to get in the game. Now, the ball is in my court, thanks to treating my skin and joints with Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults.
Nothing is everything.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Not what he was paid to do. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. A man from Clark County is facing corrupt business charges. Donnie Burgess explains.
Indiana State Police were tagged in to investigate an oddity within the Clarksville Coyle Chevy dealership credit card accounts. About $200,000 was not where it should have been. John Blakely used to be the general manager, and over the last few months, state police detectives believe they found evidence that shows Blakely took that money and illegally transferred it to his own private accounts. He'll have his day in court. For now, he's in the Clark County Jail on theft charges. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Speaking of business, the nonprofit news group Free Press Indiana feels there's a need for better local journalism.
In some of our rural communities, we have what are described as news deserts, where there is not a local news presence.
Ebony Chappelle with Free Press Indiana says they started up a newsroom called Mirror Indy that started Tuesday. That focuses on news related to Indianapolis. They plan on expanding their content across many other parts of the state as well. Are you a football fan still searching for a Christmas gift for the kids in your family? If so, the Indianapolis Colts are currently selling 2 Build-A-Bear plush toys that look like mascot Blue. One features Blue with a white jersey and a green mohawk and tail. The other is a tie-dyed version of the character with rainbow fur, a blue jersey, and a pink mohawk and tail. Place an order and learn more at shop.colts.com. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
A few more showers are possible for us early tonight under mostly cloudy skies, lows in the low to mid-30s. Then for Wednesday, we'll see a little bit more sunshine, but still cold. Highs only getting into the lower 40s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Stephen Deanna for 93 WIBC.
Start saving with Comcast Business Mobile, all on the most reliable 5G network. Most reliable based on RootMetrics US report. Results vary. Not an endorsement.
Reggie was a nurse for 16 years.
I had become very burnt out. I wasn't making good money.
Then it happened.
There was an ad for My Computer Career, and it just spoke to me.
My Computer Career was the best decision he ever made.
I could study anywhere from my laptop, and I was working in the first couple of weeks of me being in class.
Reggie hit a home run.
The field is teeming with jobs.
Become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
The school is amazing.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu. This is one student student's experience. Individual results vary.
Hi, this is Denny Smith. When it comes to your well, preventive maintenance is the key to safe and reliable water. C&J is offering their well cleaning special, and it's a deal that really helps improve the quality of the water you consume every day. To prevent problems, you simply must do a bacteria sampling, AMPS test on the pump, switch analysis, pressure tank check, piping exam, and a flow evaluation. Clean your well to protect the water you drink, bathe in, and wash your clothes. Call C&J to keep your water source safe, sanitary, and reliable. 317-852-WELL.
You see them coming in your rearview mirror. Big trucks can cause big wrecks on our Indiana roads.
I'm attorney Darrell Isaacs, the Hammer. We're here to stop these big trucks and their big insurance companies. If you've been injured by a dump truck, delivery truck, concrete truck, or any kind of big truck, we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
Click and get help quick at WeWin.com. That's WeWin.com.
Beat the holiday cleaning rush with Zerorez. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at $139 plus a free hallway. Call 388-5141 or book online at ZerorezIndy.com.
Indy Humane, committed to helping Central Indiana's pets in need since 1905. Find your new best friend today. IndyHumane.org.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Good evening and hello. There's a lot to get to, and it just never seems to get any less newsy, so let's dig right in. You've been told for the last couple of decades that the entire reason that we need to loosen migrant restrictions regarding the southern border, the reason that it's cruel and inhumane to put up a wall, or perhaps desperately evil for governors like Greg Abbott of Texas to put up basically floating obstructions to keep people from flowing into the United States unrestricted, is because these migrants are basically little children who are sick, who are quadriplegics with cancer, who have just an aspiration to be a NASA astronaut, pregnant mothers who are pregnant with like quintuplets, who have basically wanted their entire life just to paint, and they sing "I Have a Dream" anytime they go anywhere, and aged fathers who, again, just want to see the sunrise crest on a mountain in the United States. These are who you were told are coming into the United States. This is who you were told is the reason that supporting a wall is, if you build a wall, then you're going to be racist towards these people. You're xenophobic. If you don't really go all in and just support open borders everywhere, again, all of the progressive groups that are called open borders, you're shutting out all of the moms and the children and the old men, and that's just really terrible. Only independent journalists and journalists that don't work for CNN and MSNBC did this thing called taking cameras down to the southern border over the last few years and found that many of the migrants don't exactly look like women and children and aged men at all. In fact, they're seeing something just a little bit different. Now, in the heat of the moment, you might have perhaps missed that entire group was comprised of 20-something-year-old men. The kind of men that are military age. And are not desperate, hopeless young women and children and old men just seeking a better life into the huddled masses that the Statue of Liberty was talking about. Everybody, come on, it's just the same as a Jewish family escaping the Nazis. That's all the same. Oh, wait, no, it's 20-something-year-old men who should be cleaning up their own country and protecting the very women and children that are said to be fleeing into the United States. So that's kind of falling apart. And then every once in a while, you will get a little bit of footage of the United States southern border wall sections, and you see something like this. So you see a child crossing through the wall, another girl, and then what appears to be her mother, and then it's all dudes in their 20s and 30s. More dudes in their 20s and 30s. And then there is the Southern Border Patrol doing absolutely nothing, just kind of standing there on orders. If you actually go up and talk to the border agents, as many of my colleagues have done, they'll tell you that they would love to, restrict unimpeded travel into the United States. No one's scanning their IDs. No one's checking to see if they're on the terror watch list, even though, FBI Director Christopher Wray has openly admitted that many Iranian-backed members of the terror watch list are flowing into the United States, and we're only catching a toddler's handful of them. And if that doesn't scare you, not even all of the immigrants even look like they should be coming from Latin America. Here is a group of Chinese immigrants who were stopped at the border in California. According to U.S. Border Patrol, Chinese nationals and unidentifieds, end quote, at the California border. I don't know if you guys know this, but Chinese nationals are not typically born in Ecuador and Venezuela and Guyana and Honduras and Nicaragua and Mexico. You're not going to find a lot of Chinese nationals and other Chinese unidentifieds coming through Belize. But they're coming into the United States, and they're all in their mid-20s, and they're all of war readiness age. They're all the age they should be, fixing their own countries, yet they're coming here. And they're not coming here to pursue collegiate doctorates and pursue a better life. No, these are the same groups that are often smuggling in drugs, that are often smuggling children for the sex trade, that the FBI is making record numbers of busts in. That is, of course, when they're not investigating Catholics. And the southern border continues to be wide open. And Kamala Harris, our glorious vice president who spent more of her time giving sexual favors during her rise to the vice presidency than actually showing any leadership aptitude, went down to the border to do something, I guess. We're still not sure what it is. And you can't ask White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre what's going on at the border because she has no idea. No one has any idea. We drag people before the committee hearings in the House and in the Senate. Senator Kennedy asks people directly, what are you doing? And they go, oh, it's very complex, Senator. There's a lot that's going on. Yes, that's right. There is a lot that's going on. Shut the border. Shut the U.S. southern border. There's no reason for it to remain open at the present time. And I was listening to Hammer and Nigel before the show began, and they're absolutely right. We are facing an invasion. We're not facing a masterfully orchestrated invasion of one country thrusting its troops into the United States, although I do have some concerns about the Chinese nationals that are seeping into our country, a lot like certain refugees during the Soviet era. But we are witnessing an unprecedented level of individuals who could not fix their own country, so they are here to cause chaos in ours. It has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do even with where these individuals were born. But you should greatly hold suspect anyone at all who causes that kind of trouble, who breaks those kind of laws, again, when they are males in their 20s. Kind of suspicious, don't you think? Up next, we're going to be talking with Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee. You are listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
God led me here to the Salvation Army.
It's a tradition of giving.
Your donation is so important.
For over a quarter century, WIBC has partnered with the Salvation Army. Your generous donations stay in central Indiana, helping Hoosiers.
Thank you, Lord, for the peace.
Find hope.
Feeding people in shelters.
The tradition continues next Friday and Saturday. The WIBC Radiothon for the Salvation Army.
Some days, my active psoriatic arthritis makes it hard to get in the game. Now, the ball is in my court, thanks to treating my skin and joints with Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults.
Nothing is everything.
Skyrizi helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi and visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Winter may seem like a strange time to replace the windows in your house, but with Window Nation, today is the perfect time. And right now, Window Nation is offering you 50% off all window styles. Plus, you could even get 0% interest for 5 years. With new energy-efficient windows from Window Nation, you'll start saving money instantly on your heating bills and get rid of those annoying cold drafts that are letting your heat out. And in the summer, they'll keep that cool AC in, so you'll save money all year long.
Plus, Window Nation's professional installation means your windows will fit right in your home, treated with care. And with 50% off all style of windows and 0 interest for 5 years, it's time to give Window Nation a look today. Let Window Nation show you all the options to fit your needs and your budget. All you got to do is call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com to get started. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
Have you heard? The Xfinity Mobile Black Friday sale is on now. Don't miss out on a free line of unlimited for 2 years when you switch to Xfinity Internet. That's over $1,000 in savings. Plus, see how to get up to $800 off an eligible 5G phone. Join the millions who have switched to one of the fastest growing mobile services. Now through December 5th, new customers can get a free line of unlimited intro mobile for 2 years with Xfinity Fast Internet. Plus, see how you can save even more with up to $800 off the latest 5G phones. It's your chance to get connected to the fastest mobile service with 5G cellular and millions of Wi-Fi hotspots. This offer won't last. Go to Xfinity.com/Black Friday sale, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. After promo, regular rates apply to service and devices. Actual internet speeds vary. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. Reduced mobile speeds after 20 gigabytes of usage. Data thresholds may vary.
Tony Katz here, and if you know me, you know I like my bourbon, and just like you, I like a good deal. So let me tell you about Hotel Tango Bourbon. Hotel Tango is a distillery right here in Indianapolis, started by Travis Barnes, a Marine who served 3 tours in Iraq. He wanted to craft spirits with the same discipline he learned in the Marine Corps. That's what Hotel Tango does. I've tried his bourbon. It's wonderful. It's a 4-grain bourbon with a distinct mash bill. You get a little caramel and some of that aroma. You get a nice rye kick to balance it out. I'm not the only one who thinks it's good. Wine Enthusiast gave it a 94, and it won a gold at the San Francisco Spirits Competition. It's also under $40. Did I mention that? One of the 10 best bourbons under $40, according to Wine Enthusiast. Try it for yourself. Head down to wherever you buy fine spirits and try Hotel Tango for yourself. You'll be supporting local, supporting veterans, and getting yourself a great, sippable, enjoyable bourbon at a great price. Thanks to Hotel Tango for sponsoring the show. Hotel Tango, distilled with discipline. HotelTangoDistillery.com.
Hey, this is Spencer Thompson at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. Our biggest ever Smith Brothers of Burn sale is going on now. Save 50% off MSRP plus 4 years interest-free financing or an extra 20% off for cash. The best furniture made today, 1,000 fabrics, 100 leathers, made in Indiana, a lifetime warranty. Hurry, sale in Saturday only at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC. If there's one thing I've heard at least 567 times from those who are against school choice, it's, well, who's going to cover transportation? After all, if you don't have the big yellow school buses that are wildly overpriced and you don't have 800 of them per district, then how are kids ever going to get to learn? They always paint this picture of this child that's living in this dirt hovel. Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast on Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC. Joining us this evening is Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee, and he's been shaking all kinds of things up. It is one of the fastest growing states in the union at this point. And I tell you what, we often complain about a lot of government programs that stink. So when a pilot program is a huge success, it kind of turns a few heads, ears, and eyes. Governor Lee, how's it going, sir?
Good, Tony. How you doing today?
Absolutely stellar. I like a dreary fall day. I don't know what the weather's like down there in Tennessee.
Yeah, it's I actually love winter, and when the leaves fall and you can see the woods, it's a beautiful time of year.
It really is. So tell you what, let's not waste any time here. You obviously had a really huge success with the kind of pilot program of how you guys have done school choice. You focused originally on inner city students in 3 of Tennessee's cities. And those were Nashville, and then was it not Knoxville? It was Memphis and Chattanooga. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's right. We began with the largest urban centers, and really part of that came from my past experience way before I became the governor. I worked with an at-risk inner-city youth program, met a kid, had an experience with that kid where I saw he moved from a school where he was failing every subject into into another school and had a tremendously different outcome. And it really inspired me as it relates to school choice. And that's what got me started 10 years ago. And then when I came into office, we focused first on those urban centers where the need is tremendously important.
So just to kind of wrap things up under a neat little bow, the program was successful and wildly successful because I spoke to those parents. I've gone down to Tennessee a couple of times in the last couple of years. Back when I was a public administrator, for a science director for IPS, I focused a lot on kind of Midwestern and mid-central states and how they did education. And I was really impressed because I worked at an inner city school. And seeing how Tennessee was kind of changing how things were done for its inner city students, really pulled at the heartstrings, to be very transparent. Now you're taking that program that gave inner city kids an opportunity and you're kind of expanding it across the state. Give us a kind of a snapshot of what's going on down there in Tennessee.
Well, one of the things that we found in the last few years is that what we knew to be true in those urban center schools is true for everyone. And what that truth is that a parent, when given an option and given a choice about their child's education, they will make the choice that is in the best interest of their kid. No one cares more, no one knows better about what's best for their kid as it relates to education, certainly, than the parent. And so what we saw in that pilot program really just affirmed that every parent ought to have that same option and that same choice in my thought.
So that's one of the things that I thought was kind of curious here, because a lot of school choice opposition, for example, what Texas is facing right now, a lot of complaints that come from, well, we don't know how it's going to work. We don't know how it's going to affect kids. But you actually rolled out a pilot program that identified key students that were in trouble and gave their parents the opportunity and said, all right, let's test the theory. Are parents actually going to put their kids in a better school? We talked to this one mother. Her name is Ariel. And Ariel Munson, a lovely lady. Her two sons, one stayed in a public school and one ended up going to a private school by her choice. And her son that went to a private school, she said he's blossomed. He started flourishing. He's picked up civics and a little bit of engineering and all of these different skills and things that he's really put to the test. I could see why, after looking at those results, you would want to expand it out. And the opposition to such measures don't really have much of a leg to stand on, because the evidence in favor of that school choice program is so potent and so there's just so much evidence in the positive that it's really hard to argue against it. I'm really excited to see where it goes out. I know there were a lot of students in Knoxville that are really looking forward to getting to be a part of this.
You talked about the evidence. The biggest piece of evidence that is so encouraging to me is that 91% of the parents that have a child in that program, that Education Savings Account program, 91% of the parents believe that their child is having a better outcome.
Wow.
They're satisfied with the educational outcomes for their children. That is the evidence that you need. No one knows better. I was a father of 4 children, school-age children. I now have 9 grandchildren, so kids and grandkids that are all very different. My kids were homeschooled. They were in private school. They were in public school. Different kids at different times with different needs. I knew my kids better than anyone, and I knew what they needed most in order to be academically successful. And I was the one most interested in their success. So that whole idea, the evidence does show and prove, and you see that in states that have had these programs for some time.
Right.
Both public schools and private schools, most importantly, education outcomes for kids improve. And at the end of the day, it's really not about a particular system or a particular kind of school. It's about children and their success and parents' ability to navigate that success for their kids.
That's precisely it, because the kind of the unifying point that a lot of individuals on the left and the right can kind of come together on when it comes to education is that parents should be more involved. The more involved a parent is, the more likely a better outcome is at play. And that is one of the reasons this program is successful, is because it gives parents, it kind of pulls them into the driver's seat more directly and says, take your kid where you want them to go. And the complete freedom to do that generates positive, the academic sense would say positive outcomes, but it generates good things. It does. And in reality, when we pull away all the academic language and all the policy language, kids are better off. And that is the bottom line. And kids that are better off growing up in Tennessee tend to stick around in Tennessee and make the state better. And hearing you talk about this so passionately, it's encouraging, because I'm really tired of the stale method of policy procedure where we just kind of pull up the matrix and chart our way through. And it's much of a chagrin to hear you talk about the different environments for your kids and the way that parents look at it. It's kind of refreshing. So thank you from one parent and a guy who studied ed policy. It's refreshing to hear someone talk about it this way.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And I do think, I think you used the word stale, but I remind people all the time, we have to be continuously, innovatively thinking about how we educate kids. I mean, this is a changing world. It's a changing environment. It's a changing society. Our educational outcomes in this country have vastly fallen behind from where they were just a couple of decades ago.
Right.
And that's because we haven't changed anything. We have the same basic model for educating kids that we had, 30, 40 years ago. I ran a company for 25 years before I became governor. And, in business, you don't do the same thing year after year after year. You have strategic planning meetings every year, and you have continuous improvement plans every year. And you decide that you need to make an adjustment to the way you market or the way you operate or the way you execute. And it should not be different in sort of government programs like education. We shouldn't be doing things the same way we did 25. And the only thing we're doing different now than we did a few years ago is we're, in my view, and in a whole lot of parents' views, we are, we're bringing into the classroom things that parents may or may not want their kids to learn, methods they may or may not believe in. And that even adds to the strength of the idea that the more choices we give, the more innovative our entire educational trajectory will be for this country. And it's just time to make changes for a changing world.
Well said. Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee introducing the education choice platform that worked well in 3 of Tennessee's cities to far more students, with a plan to roll it out all the way by 2025. Governor, thank you so much for hopping on.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate you.
You are listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Greetings from R&R Agency, your Indiana health insurance pros. We recently saved a 50-year-old couple over $300 per month when compared to their old individual plan. We recently saved a family of 4 over $400 per month when compared to their quote on healthcare.gov. We are now entering the crazy enrollment season when our federal government will spend millions telling us that healthcare.gov is our only good option for quality health care. Whether it's called healthcare.gov, Affordable Care Act, or it's still Obamacare, don't let the federal government or their big insurance company cronies tell you that you don't have a choice. Give us a call at 317-563-0868 or go to rragency.org. That's 317-563-0868 or rragency.org. If you don't call us, we can't help you. Quoting the great Dr. Duke Tomato, Lord, please help our Colts. And as always, God bless America, or at least what's left of her.
No more joint pain. It's not necessary to live another year in pain. Call QC Kinetics right now and make 2024 the year you are back to living a normal life again. Tony Katz here, and QC Kinetics can give you your life back. They're the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. All natural treatments that can repair and restore damaged tissue, giving you pain-free movement. QC Kinetics has tens of thousands of satisfied patients around the country. People who had knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, who were able to get lasting relief with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. Make the call right now so you can get the most out of 2024. Got pain from that old injury? Pain from arthritis? Get back to doing what you love. Make that pain go away. And don't forget, you can use your HSA and FSA funds. Get your free consultation with QC Kinetics. 317-559-PAIN. 317-559-PAIN. QC Kinetics in Eagle Creek, in Greenwood, and now in Carmel, all with Saturday appointments available. QC Kinetics, 317-559-PAIN.
Fall in Indy, and if you hate to paint, do what your neighbor Edwina did. She called Rhino Shield.
Over the years, I've had to touch up the house. I just got to the point where I couldn't spend any more money on the outside of the house. And when I saw Rhino Shield, I thought that was the answer to my problem.
And Rhino Shield's a ceramic coating, better than paint.
I had painters here before, and it was usually quite a disaster with them leaving their equipment here. But Rhino Shield was right on it.
Our 25% off special is now extended through December. Plus, receive a free game console just by having Rhino Shield applied by spring of 2024.
The gentleman said, if you're interested, give me a call. And I said, honestly, can you come tomorrow?
Remember, you have until the end of December to receive 25% off. Plus, get your job done by spring of 2024 and receive a free game console. Restrictions apply. Here's owner Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Got family coming over this holiday season? I do. It's Terry Stacy, and before they get here, I need a couple of rooms painted. Cardwell Do It Best Home Center has got a full line of best look quality paints produced by Sherwin-Williams on sale now through Christmas with $10 off per gallon. Paint and primer all in one with custom computer paint matching. Now that's a deal at Cardwell Do It Best. And speaking of matching, Jeff Cardwell and Cardwell Do It Best is supporting the Salvation Army Radiothon through my virtual Red Kettle. Now through December 9th, Jeff is matching donations up to $500. So please help make someone's life a little better. Go to WIBC.com and look for my virtual Red Kettle with Cardwell Do It Best, matching up to $500. Cardwell Do It Best Center, 3205 Madison Avenue, just south of the Gateway Arch on Indy's South Side. A part of our community since 1945.
Life is a collection of moments that last forever, so make them matter and make them count with a symbol of everlasting love. A diamond from Pierce Jewelers. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Just a curbside prophet.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC, joined this evening by Rags of the podcast Every Frame a Pause. It's on YouTube whenever they air a new episode. And I say that because the images that go along with it are just as good as the audio. Rags, have you heard about the recent collapse of all of these movies and TV shows that they keep putting out? It's like all of the audience Rotten Tomato scores are just abysmal.
I have heard about them, though the audience Rotten Tomato scores for a lot of these shows are not nearly as low as I think they should be. We've certainly gotten a lot of criticism ourselves, a lot of it's whining, that we're too harsh on movies, that we can't enjoy anything. But I think the recent, well, let's put it a little bit into perspective. The Marvels recently has essentially ended its run in theaters. That is to say, they're going to stop reporting how much money that it takes in.
Right.
As of, I think, about a day ago, the $220 million budget movie has only made $197 million internationally, which is a huge loss because, of course, the studio doesn't take every dollar that it makes at the theater. They only take a certain percentage. And then you have the marketing budgets and all the other costs. So not even making your budget back, your production budget is that is really, really bad. And this has sort of been a long time coming. It's been years in the making. Whether you ask some people, whether it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe specifically, where the turning point was, a lot of people can agree that things ain't what they used to be. And I think it's because most movies now, particularly Marvel movies, they just suck. They're terrible. They stink. And so a lot of people don't go and see them.
What really gets on me in the back of my mind, and I know that a lot of people criticize the Every Frame Pause crew because, again, you guys criticize the modern state of movies, but you guys also have your favorite movies. You have your movies and your shows that you think have been done well. Yeah. And whether that's you or Mahler or Fringy, that you guys have what you say, these are great examples of writing. And when you do see shows, like, again, I think of Andor from Star Wars, in which there are great elements, you guys point those out and you offer heaps of praise and say, see, this is what we like.
That's right. Andor is the best Star Wars content we've gotten in 40 years.
Hands down. And it bothers me because I see people, even a guy named Stephen Ken, who comes on and does a weekly segment with us. He still really thinks that the Mandalorian is kind of just as good as Andor, and Andor's kind of boring. And I'm shocked because the world building that occurs in Andor is captivating.
Yeah.
And the loss.
The Mandalorian has managed to, I don't want to be mean and say that it's fooled a lot of people, but it's fooled a lot of people. I find The Mandalorian to be incredibly boring. There is basically no stakes. Nothing that you see really matters. There's no logic. The plot makes no sense. The characters are virtually non-existent. And if you think so, then I believe that you're the victim of being fooled. You've been fooled. You've been had. You've been bamboozled.
Speaking of those who've been Smeckledorfed, I think that you talked about the fact that there are like no characters anymore, and that really all that we're left with, and I think back to Mahler's original criticism of Captain Marvel, and that she was just plank of wood, and he calls her plank through the entire criticism.
Yeah,
because there's nothing to her character.
A lot of characters are like that now. I don't want to say it's mostly ladies, but it's by and large. A lot of characters now are just nothing or they're worse. At least nowadays, when I say, oh, this character has basically no traits whatsoever, and no personality, that means that I'm not saying that they're horrifically written or they're genocidal or they're morally repugnant or they're completely contradictory. But that's how low things have sunk.
Yeah, it's like all characters are modeled after a bottle of Dasani water, and it's like
Dasani is refreshing and useful, and it cools me down on a hot summer day, and it waters my crops. But it's coincidentally. Sometimes I go to my parents' place, and me and my dad, we watch a movie, oftentimes an old movie.
Sure.
And we watched a movie from, I think it was 1951, long time ago, called When Worlds Collide. It's like an 82-minute movie from 1951, and it was pretty good. And it had characters.
Right.
It had a decent cast of characters, and they were all kind of different. They all behaved in different ways and wanted different things. And in a way, it was a bit simplistic. His code, 1951, long time ago. And of course, it was only 82 minutes long. They had crammed a lot of stuff in there. But even going back further than that, you have stuff like Citizen Kane and Casablanca. And it got me thinking, if a movie has good characters, that's like the most important thing, kind of, other than like basic logic and comprehensibility. If a movie's got good characters, that will do so much. You could put the most interesting characters just in a room with no plot whatsoever, and that will probably be a good movie if it's just interesting characters doing and saying things and interacting.
Well, I mean, to kind of bring to bear, Seinfeld kind of proved that, right? I mean, you had characters with some interesting flaws, and for a sitcom, and a Larry David sitcom at that, I mean, you actually had some really interesting kind of conversations that popped up and are still regurgitated because the characters themselves were interesting, and at least, even though there really wasn't development, they had depth. But I would love to run off on that rabbit trail.
Comedies like that are great places to get good characters, whether it's the Gilmore Girls or not the Golden Girls.
You scared me for a second.
The Golden Girls or Hogan's Heroes or any of these other shows.
MASH.
MASH. The characters they're paramount. You've got to get good characters. I know my parents would watch Everyone Loves Raymond.
Oh yeah, Deborah.
Yeah, everyone loves these characters. They're all different, and they don't need incredible development. In fact, one of my co-hosts, Fringy, made a great video on why you don't have to have characters that develop. That having a static character is okay. Because that's what most of us are generally in our lives. We're pretty static. We change gradually over time. But if a character is good and interesting and they're not contradicting themselves, then you have the foundations of what is a great story.
No, I think that you're really hitting it right on the head. But this is kind of the reason that I bring up Marvels and the new decade of sucky movies, as I've heard it called. Remember back in the aughts that was when sequels really started getting churned out. And you would see a good movie and you would think in the back of your mind, they're going to make a crappy sequel about that. So like an animated movie, like, Despicable Me, regardless of what you think about the sequels, Despicable Me, the original was good. So you thought, they're going to make a sequel.
Straight to VHS sequels or the straight to DVD sequels. A lot of those times they wouldn't even go to theaters. It'd just be, let's put out a sequel for
like Aladdin 2 and 3.
No,
yeah.
Well, I will.
Aladdin 3 is really
Aladdin
good.
Aladdin 3 was actually quite good.
It's one of my favorites.
Return of Jafar is,
because Robin Williams isn't in it.
Yeah, it was either Prince of Thieves or King of Thieves.
Yeah, the Aladdin and the King of Thieves.
Yeah, that was actually a really good movie. Yeah,
solid sequel. Bad example on my part, but the reason I bring that up is that I feel like then you had to have a good movie in order to have a sequel. And now with Captain Marvel into Marvels, I was shocked. Because like the reception to Captain Marvel was so universally bad that to make a sequel and then like pretend it was going to do well is like, you're supposed to take a good movie and make a sequel.
This stuff is planned out years in advance when they think they can do no wrong. And when they think that as long as they slap MCU or Star Wars on it, it'll make a lot of money. Remember, the first Captain Marvel made over $1 billion. And I think that's almost entirely due to the fact that it was in between Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. It was in that it was at the peak, I think a lot of people would say, of MCU content, where everyone was just really into it. We had all this cast of strong characters. We actually had Avengers. We had plenty of good movies before then, plenty of bad ones, but plenty of good ones too. And the peak of investment is when this movie comes out, makes $1 billion. But I think if they would have released essentially any movie in the MCU, it would have made $1 billion. But the environment has shifted so much. We've had so many terrible shows, so many terrible movies that have come out since then. And we've been talking about characters. There's no characters to be invested in anymore. So why should I go see the Marvels? Who is Kamala Khan? I don't even know who's Monica Rambeau. And who's Carol Danvers? She even got her own movie, and I still don't really know what she is. Oh, but let me guess. Let me guess. They're all brave and determined and strong.
All cutouts of Katniss Everdeen.
We got it. We did it.
So I kind of want to dive in from this to Christmas movies. If you have enough time to stick around for another 10 minutes ish.
Yeah.
You are listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
The National Toy Hall of Fame has announced its new class. Baseball cards, Cabbage Patch Kids, Fisher-Price Corn Popper, that little thing you push, and Nerf.
Yeah. Nerf?
Nerf made it in.
I think I'm good with the list. Literally, I think a stick is in the National Toy Hall of Fame.
It is.
Who didn't make it?
Slime. It's a staple of Nickelodeon.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Rob. I started losing hair around my crown and my hairline was starting to recede. I went to We Grow Hair Indy and they helped grow my hair back. My friend Dave First, a sports broadcaster for over 20 years, also struggled with hair loss. Dave, what happened?
My thinning hair was bothering me. For me, I'm in the public eye. I'm a dad also, and I want to look and feel my best. And if I'm going to do something about my hair, I want to go with the best. We Grow Hair Indy. They really set the standard.
Dave, that's amazing. I had the same procedure, multi-unit hair grafting transplants, which gives you more hair per procedure, saving you time time and money. Call 317-522-2995 for your free hair and scalp evaluation. Find out if hair transplants or PRP is right for you.
If you're thinking about this, don't waste your time or money. Go to the experts.
Call 317-522-2995, 522-2995, or visit WeGrowHairIndy.com, the gold standard for hair restoration.
Are your health insurance premiums making you sick? George and Megan at yourcoverage.net can help. George and Megan have helped countless individuals and families save 30 to 60% on health insurance with superior coverage. George recently saved a family of four $800 a month with the Aetna Network $0 deductible and $0 doctor office copay plan. This is not a government-sponsored health insurance plan. So if you're uninsured, recently lost your job, on COBRA, or are paying extremely high rates for Obamacare or your work coverage, George and Megan will help you if you meet the flexible guidelines for health insurance. Yourcoverage.net will provide you the best coverage at the lowest rate. Their goal is to give you peace of mind and the utmost in healthcare. Go to yourcoverage.net and see for yourself, or better yet, call George and Megan at 1-800-491-5500. That's 1-800-491-5500. Or go to yourcoverage.net. That's yourcoverage.net, a premium personalized healthcare plan managed and designed by you, not the government.
Inspired by family traditions and peaceful harmony. Inspired by the reason for the season, our Savior's birth and his gift of grace. Inspired by joyfully serving you as we do Christ in our Franciscan tradition. This Christmas season, we invite you to join us in our prayer for peace. Merry Christmas from all of us at Franciscan Health.
Let Bill Estes put you behind the wheel of the powerhouse brands that define American toughness. Ford, Chevy, Ram, and GMC. Right now, save up to $15,000 off MSRP on Ram. Unleash the power of the road with Bill Estes Trucks. Find the location near you and see their inventory at BillEstesTrucks.com.
Prices include Costco membership rebate of $1,000. All rebates and incentives included in final discount. Stock numbers BCI 230444, BCJ 240066, BFB 230713. TRX Raptor and ZR2 models excluded from all offers. See dealer for details. Offer absolutely ends January 31st, 2024.
There are 48 million unpaid family caregivers in the United States. Visit aarp.org/caregiving to access a free guide to help navigate your caregiving journey.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC. I'm Tony Kinnett, joined by Rags, and I gotta ask, just right off the top of the bat, have you seen some of the new Christmas movies that are coming out? Are you a Christmas movie kind of guy? What happens after Thanksgiving around your house?
Mostly video games. I don't watch a lot of Christmas stuff, not because I don't like them. I just don't end up watching a lot of Christmas themed movies.
Right.
So it's mostly just coincidental, other than anything else. I couldn't tell you the last Christmas movie that I watched.
So I have homework for you, and whether or not I'm in the position to give you homework is certainly here and far in between. But kind of going on how you talked about watching kind of some older movies with your dad, kind of from the 50s, in which there were characters and it was a decent movie and you can actually see some things. In contrast to kind of the modern Hallmark churning mill, in which it's the same story repainted 800 different ways because...
Yeah, and that paint is almost always red and green. But
yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you have never actually seen, with Bing Crosby, The White Christmas, you really should go and watch it. It is... I didn't see it until a couple of years ago. My wife forced me to sit down because it sounded so uninteresting. So I sit down and watch this old movie, and I didn't really care about Bing Crosby, and kind of forced myself to sit down and kind of get through it. And it became my favorite Christmas movie, even more than like Home Alone, which I really enjoyed. I think it's a great movie because, again, it actually has real characters and it has real people, and there's not a huge amount of development, but it's a really good, solid story on a really interesting premise that doesn't feel regurgitated. And it was so unique, as to a movie, that every time I go back and I watch it, there's something new that I pick up.
And it's a Christmas movie, right? You're not supposed to be picking up little things from a Christmas movie. Just like people in Hollywood say you're not really supposed to be picking up really grand life lesson from a kid's movie or a kid's show. That's why they're so lower
It's often
value.
the excuse of bad ones, yeah.
Right. So I guess kind of what I'm throwing at you is, do you think that kind of just all through all media, we talk about kids movies a lot because that's who consumes the most media would be kids. Do we need to start elevating the standard of writing that we have for things like, can Christmas movies be good again? I guess I know you're not a Christmas movie guy, but can we return to a time in which the quality, are we going to get out of this sucky decade of movies and TV shows, and not just in kids shows and not just in the MCU and Star Wars, but like all over? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel here? Or are we just going to keep beating our head against the rocks, reminiscing about movies in the 50s?
Yeah, I think so. I think that generally, if you have a consistent period of really bad quality, people will notice it. I think Disney is the prime example, of course.
Right.
When their big mainline MCU movie comes out, doesn't even make its budget back, that is a big deal. And there's already news about what they're going to do, what they're going to change, the kind of new approach they're going to take. And so we'll see how that actually manifests, but it's going to be big changes for them. There will always be good movies. There will always be bad movies. I think that especially in a day and age where YouTubers and podcasters and, radio show hosts and all of us, we have a particularly a more prominent role, I think,
right.
Not to self-aggrandize, but I think a lot of people get their news and their movie opinions and their movie thoughts. They listen to those from people that they trust on the internet.
Absolutely.
It's just a guy. It's just a gal. It's just a couple dudes or couple bros or whatever. They're just talking about movies. And a lot of people gravitate towards ones they feel are honest and earnest and insightful. And so in a way, each of us has our part to play that hasn't really been as prominent as it is now as it was, it wasn't as prominent in the past as it is now. Anyone can just pick up a microphone, make a YouTube channel, start talking about movies, and maybe it really picks up steam. So I feel very hopeful. It's always nice to see that terrible movies are, reviewed terribly and don't make money. I want every movie to be good. I want every movie to be great and well written with great characters and a plot that makes sense. But, that's a bit of a fantasy, but I can still cross my fingers. But ultimately, yes, I am optimistic. Each of us has a part to play. Go see the movies, go support the movies that you think are good, preferably ones that actually are really good. And don't go see the movies that are bad. It's like every corporation. It's kind of like an animal. It's a wild beast. It has to be trained on, on this, that, and the other thing, and they'll follow the money ultimately.
That's a really good point I haven't really thought over enough, is that, you had a time in which if you really wanted to hear about whether a movie or a restaurant, for crying out loud, was good, you subscribed to, certain critics in the newspaper or like Washington Post or Time or whatever. And now no one cares what those critics have to say.
Yes, they've dwindled in their importance, and a lot of them are extreme. It's kind of the opposite thing has kind of happened. Things have sort of inverted, not just in terms of audience sizes, but in terms of reputation. There are so many, and people are really aware that a lot of these places are just shill websites, and you always wonder about the corruption of it in terms of, what are they allowed to say about Disney before they're not invited back, or what friends have they made in the industry that they're trying not to step upon the toes of. Whereas, just Jim, Bob, and Billy on the Swamp Cast or whatever, they'll just say that, yeah, I hated this movie because it sucked, and here's why. And yeah, that's right, Billy, it sure did. Oh boy. And that'll be that. And they trust those guys, and they have more reputation than all these, suit wearing, tie wearing, I write for newspapers, I write articles.
Your accents are spectacular.
Gee, thank you.
We're gonna have to give you a Marconi Radio Award just for that.
All
honestly.
Right. Yeah.
The Marconi Award is also the only award that I know of for radio. So
yeah, that's what they mean when they say Google me.
Yeah. So I don't know. At the end of all of this sucky decade of movies, because you can make an argument that once we hit the 20 teens, like kind of the mid 20 teens, things just went downhill real fast.
It felt like a shift.
Yeah, like this long, like you said, that they charted out these movies, years in advance, with the Marvels. And so it didn't matter whether the first movie did, we're just going to keep going in this direction because people will just consume. I gotta ask, do you think that there's somebody on the inside of these, organizations now that their job is to look and listen for, those of us goobers online that are issuing these opinions kind of en route
find
en
our
masse?
families? Yes, they're outside my house right now. They know where I live, but this is Arkansas. Don't you come in. I know my rights.
Well, we're just, you and I are in flyover country as it is. But to get ideas, not to find who you are.
There are absolutely people who are aware. It's just like with the video game developers, with movie studios. When you're selling a product to a large amount of people, and you need to, like I said, the Marvels, right? It was the last MCU movie they did. It was absolutely terrible, by the way. Avoid at all costs. You probably haven't heard of it anyway. But didn't even make back its budget. Like, what was his budget? 50 million? 100 million? No, 220 million. $220 million just to make the thing.
Gracious.
And so when you have stakes that big, when the scale of your production is that massive, you have to have people who are looking, watching. What are people saying? What are people doing? What do people think? They do all of their internal polls. They do all of their tests of different movie endings.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in a lot of ways, movies have become just content to put out. Just put it out, get it on the streaming service, put it out in the theaters. It's Disney, it's Star Wars, it's the movie. They'll go and see it, right? They'll just go and see it. Make sure that it is chemically engineered to be the most content that ever was, so that the people will pay us their money and they will watch the moving pictures, and then we will make next content.
And it didn't work.
It worked for... It doesn't seem like it has any heart. I don't begrudge your company for trying to make a lot of money.
Sure.
But when the stuff you make out sucks, then I do have a problem, because it doesn't seem like these movies have much artistry to them.
No.
Did you go see Oppenheimer?
I did. I did the Barbenheimer thing, and I actually watched them back to back. Yeah.
I also saw Barbie and Oppenheimer, and one of those movies was really, really good, and the other was Barbie. Yeah. And Oppenheimer, I guess, even, maybe I'm being slightly too harsh on Barbie, which is not a phrase I thought I'd ever say, but both of those movies, radically different. And even though Barbie sucked, it had artistry to it. There was some level of passion and creativity that went into that awful movie. And with Oppenheimer, it turned out to be really good, even though it was a Christopher Nolan movie. But it had there's a level of passion that went into it. Like all these actors doing their best on a script that was good, and there was a great music, and the way that everything was edited. Someone cared. A human being had some sort of artistic vision that they put onto the screen. And then you watch Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and then you watch The Marvels, and you're like, what?
Who did this?
What robot assembled this based on an algorithm? And not to say that artistic vision can't be bad, because it certainly can. I mean, Ahsoka was god awful, and that was full of artistic vision. But it doesn't seem like in a lot of the cases, there just doesn't seem to be any passion. There's no people involved.
We'll have to bring you back on to talk about villains at some point, because Ahsoka, I think, is the genuine death of how you write a good villain, especially when they had such a good one at hand. Unfortunately, we're actually a little over time, so I have to cut it short.
That's all right.
Rags of every frame, a pause. Thanks for hopping on, man. You are listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
A house isn't a home without a little wear and tear, spilled milk, or